afternoon and welcome to our first ever live broadcast from the Hixie Soft Craft Studio. So this is called the Hixie Soft Studio, and we hopefully will be coming to you fairly regularly with lots of makes and ideas for you. This afternoon for this session I've got two things we're going to make, and the first one we're going to start with this. This is a gatefold card using a really lovely die from Jeanine's art called Butterfly Edge. It's quite small but actually really quite effective, and I'm going to show you a technique to use in terms of being able to flip the die over to get the gatefold on both sides. Okay, so let's get started. This is the die that we're going to use, and we are going to cut it twice, one for each side. So we're start with that, and I have cut two pieces, and this is Centura Pearl, this is the fuchsia colour, and we're going to cut it twice. So first of all, I'm going to take the die and I'm going to lay it on. The size that I have cut this to, let me just check because I have written it down, it is 4 7/8 of an inch by 4 3/8 of an inch. It's pretty just perfect for that. I'm going to take that down with a bit of tape, and we're going to push that on through our Gemini. Now while I'm just assembling my sandwich, those of you that are great Hixie craft fans may recognise me from demoing on the store at some of the shows, and I feel very honoured that I have been asked to help launch the Hixie Soft Studio here. So, but please bear with me, this is my first ever live, so you know, we've had a few technical issues this morning, so we are hopefully, one of them is this, the fact that I don't have long enough arms for the Gemini. Okay, so here we are, here is our first pass through with our beautiful die. I'm going to put that to the side, take the die off. And as you can see, it's all cut, just a couple of tiny little pieces that I'm going to poke through. And I know some people, they get a little bit concerned with the edge bit. Well, we're actually going to use that as our score line, so that will completely disappear. There's a couple of lovely bits here that pop up. Okay, now that is going to, in fact I will score that now just to show you exactly where that's going to go. I'm going to put that on my board, and I'm just going to line it up on one of my lines, and I'm going to score down, and I'm going to fold that back. So that will form one side of our gatefold. If I bring the one back in and undo that, I'll show you what I mean. So this part I cut here forms this part of the gatefold. Now we need to create the other side, and this die is directional. And what that means is that it's made to go one way. So what we need to do is to find a way that we can use that in the opposite direction. Just bear with me while I clean out the die. And it isn't on the floor, it is going in the bin, I promise. Okay, so here we go. Last few bits to get out. Now, there are a couple of things I will say about this technique, in that if you are really sort of fussy, and we all can be, about the marks that we get left from our cutting plate, this may not be the technique for you, or you may need to just slightly adjust, because what we're going to do to create the other side, I've got a piece exactly the same size, but this time I'm not cutting on the pink side. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to cut it on the other side. Now unfortunately I can see I've got some inky finger marks on there, but we will persevere. So I'm going to stick this on here. Now the problem comes when we put this through our machine. We all know that the bottom side of our card quite often will be marked by our board. Now there are a few things you can do to try to mitigate that. You can try a piece of copy paper, but that does actually add a little bit more pressure and sometimes makes it worse. I tend to keep a board for things like that when I don't want my card to be marked, and it's one that stays out of the way, and I bring it out every now and again. So you can see I'm lucky enough today to have a fairly clean board. So I'm going to find a nice unmarked, or as unmarked as I can, part of the board to cut this into, so that the impression does not end up on the back of my card. So I'm going to take that down, and we'll pop that back through our Gemini. Okay. Now while that's going through, I was, but I can't. I did have a couple where I cut them.
Yeah, I've turned off.
With the marks. Oh, I found them. They're in there.
Can't get them red.
Just get that through.
Just won't. I don't know why.
Okay, so here we go. Put that up the way.
I can't embed it.
So you can see here, I've got a couple of little marks, but not too many. When I did it with a really old board, you can see I've got indent. I don't know if you can see actually. There are some indents, some little creases. So if you're going to do this technique, you really need to try and find as clean a part of your board as you can. Or it may not bother you. Some people it doesn't bother so much. So what we've now got is that other side for our gatefold. Okay. So again, I need my scoring board, and I'm going to score down on that line, that edge that we get when we use these edge ball type dies. Just gives us that little bit of, bear with me, find the line. There we go. Scroll down and fold that back over. So we now have the two edges for our gatefold. Okay. Now the reason I've done it like that is because I find it easier to cut these two pieces and attach them rather than trying to do it at two ends of a piece of card. So what I've then got is a piece of the fuchsia that is going to sit in here. And I have marked on the back the sizes. This is it's 5.5 by 4 3/4 inches. Okay, and all I'm going to do with that is to glue down here and to glue down here, and we're going to slot this piece of card over here. And we're going to slot this piece of card here. So I now have my gatefold. I'm just going to use my scoring tool just to burnish that down a little bit more. Okay, so there's our gatefold. Okay. Now at the back, you see my lovely writing. What we're going to do later at the end is I'm going to attach the ribbon and cover it. But we need to create a nice little insert for it. So what we're going to do is create our own using some white stamping card, and we're going to use some of this watercolour ink from Cosmic Shimmer. This is in Flamingo Pink, which goes really well with the fuchsia of the card. And we're also going to make it a bit more sparkly by using this. This is Pixie Sparkle Highlights. It's like the Pixie Sparkles, but it doesn't have pigment in it, so all it's going to do is to add the shimmer to it. So we'll get the colour from the ink through on the card with a nice little highlight of the frozen pearl from the sparkles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my card wet. So we're going to do like a wet on wet technique. And literally, I'm just going to paint this on. Now you can see my water is a little bit dirty, but it is fairly pinkish, so I'm not in too much of a bother about that. It won't really affect the colour. Okay. Now I'm going to take the bottle. This bottle, they have these lovely little depressor stoppers up here. And what that does is it helps to fill and empty the lovely little dropper, like pipette. So I'm just going to take some in there, and I'm just going to drop it into my little dish. And then take my brush, and then literally I'm going to just paint it over. Now it depends how dark you want it. On the one that I did originally, I think I had it much paler than this, but it's up to you what you fancy. And I can always blot this if I felt it was too dark. Okay, so that's the colour on it. And then to add the sparkle, we literally take our highlights. Now the recommended way of doing this is a nice little gentle sort of tap on the bottom. And that does give you a lovely little shimmer. I like to do a little bit more, and I might give it like a shape like a salt and pepper shaker. It just depends how much of a sparkle that you want to come through onto your piece of card. So basically we are creating our own kind of shimmer card. Now, I personally prefer to leave these to dry so that they can completely dry out the card, because when the card is damp and you try to use it, it doesn't always stick properly or cut properly. So I'm going to pop this away, and I've got one here that I made earlier. Before I do that though, I'm just going to use a bit of old rice paper to clear up the mess that I've made, because my hands are all inky as it is without adding extra ink onto everything. Okay, so this is the result you get. A really lovely shimmery card. Okay, now I'm going to use that to cut a piece to fit in here. And the way I like to do it is I'll lay it down on top of the bit that I'm going to put it on. I'm going to eyeball my Matalaeus edge, and with a pencil just make a little mark. So I'm on the back of the card here, a little mark, and then I've got my trimmer and down and down, and then that will sit nicely in here. Now you can see I've not been very good at lining up here, so I might go back at a later date and trim that off. But for now I will just leave that. So I'm going to stick this on with my Cosmic Shimmer glue, and that gives us that nice little sparkly inside. And you could use this as an invitation, you know, add in your printed information, dates and times and all that sort of in there, or just your greeting for your card. Okay, that's a bit glue off my finger there. Okay, now to get the ribbon, all I do is take, oh, that's the wrong bit of ribbon. Bear with me, what have I done with my ribbon? Oh no! Oh, live telly, what do we do? Bear with me. I'm going to find a different ribbon, purely because I've no idea where that other bit's gone. Oh no, I've got it. I have it. I found it. Okay, right, so I found it. Nice long piece of ribbon. I think it's probably in excess of 30 inches. Sorry. I'm learning. We'll get there. So I'm going to take my piece of ribbon and I'm going to take it round the back, and I'm actually going to tie it before I stick anything down, because I want to make sure that I am positioning the ribbon in the right place on the back. Okay, so I'm having a meltdown now. A ribbon meltdown live on Facebook. Here we go. I can tie a bow. Seriously, honestly, I can tie a bow. Doesn't look like it, but I can. I'm going to try again. And breathe. There we go. Oh, yeah. I can hear you all out there going, bunny ears, or turn out. Yeah, I know. And there. Okay. As I said, the reason I'm doing this is just so that I can make sure I position, because I want my bow slightly to the side. So I've roughly got my bow now there. I'm going to put it down. So now I know where I want my ribbon. I can turn this over, and I'm just going to take some red liner tape. This is nice and sticky around the end. Some red liner tape, and I'm going to put a piece down the middle, piece down the middle, and a piece at the end here. Okay, so this is first of all holding the ribbon where I want it, and secondly it is going to be what I'm going to stick the other piece of card on with. Okay, so this bit I've got a little bit too long. Just snip that off. Okay. Okay. Push that down, and then hopefully with my nails I'll be able to pick that up. There we go, that's the first bit off. Here's the second bit. And the third bit. Okay. And then this piece of card is the same as the piece I cut for the inside, so it's about 5.5 by 4 3/4. And that is just going to sit over the back and hide the ribbon. There we go. So now my ribbon is in place. I can zhuzh it a little bit more if I want to. Finally, I can. Okay, I'm just going to cut my little ends of my ribbon to make it a little bit prettier and so that they don't fray. Okay, and there we have our little double gatefold card, which can be used as an invitation. Okay, so that's our first project. Hopefully giving you a little bit of an idea of another way of using your edgeables, which seem to be directional, but you can use them in two ways. So, okay, so there's card number 1. We're going to have another little project now, which is quite different. So just bear with me while I reset myself, clear away a few things. I am a fairly tidy crafter, however, just feeling a little bit under pressure today. Because although I'm here on my own, I'm very, very aware that you guys are out there watching everything I'm doing. So I am a little bit nervous. So I'm sure you'll bear with me for my little mistakes. So let's get rid of this mess. Put it in the bin. Okay. Now the second card that I am going to demonstrate for you this afternoon is with a fantastic stamp from Woodware. So let's get all my bits and pieces up. Okay, now it is this card here, and it's with the Woodware from the Fuzzies range, and this one is the Santa. And I've got an inking technique to show you, and also this lovely Cosmic Shimmer fuzzy stuff, no, fluffy stuff I think it's called. Let me just get all my bits to show you what I'm going to be using. So I have, I'm going to be using this Pixie Sparkles, which is red oxide, which I absolutely love the colour of. I'm going to be using some Distress Oxides. I've got Chip Sapphire, I've got Aged Mahogany because it tones in really well with this red oxide, and I have Black Soot. And I have the fluffy stuff, this fluffy, yeah, the fluffy stuff, this stuff, which is going to give us all these amazing little three-dimensional bits and pieces. Okay, so let's start with this background here. This is using the red oxide. So put the other stuff to the side for the moment, and I'm going to grab a piece of white stamping card, Crafter's Companion white stamping card. Now I don't need the whole sheet, and so I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to just chop myself off roughly what I want, and I'm not going to waste the card, and I'm not going to waste my Pixie Sparkles. Okay, now unlike the highlights that I used just now, which is the Frozen Pearl highlights, the sparkles themselves actually have a pigment in there. So not only will we get the shimmer, we're also going to get the colour. And I really, like I said, I really love this. Is like a real, almost burgundy red. It's really, really lovely. So there are two ways to use the Pixie Sparkles. You can either put it on while the card's dry and then add water, and it is the water that will activate it. Or I quite like to make the card wet and then add them, so that I can see where I've got the colour, where I need to add more. So I am going to give this a quick spritz on one side, just with my hand, just going to go over to make that wet, and then I'm going to turn it over. It does help in the long run to stop your card from buckling. So now I'm going to give this quite a spray here, and I am then sprayed my bottle, making such a mess. Okay, look, I'm just going to dry that off, because what I don't want is to be opening that nice lovely powder when it's wet, and then it will all activate. So, okay, here we go. Got this little nozzle, and you just tap it, and you can see it immediately. Where it's hitting the water, it's reacting. Okay, where I've got less water, it's reacting less. And for me, I like to be able to see where I'm going with it. Okay, now yes, you can tap. I do like to shake. If you really want a bit more, you can squirt. But if you do it too hard, it will clog up. Not permanently clog, but it will block up in the nozzle, and you need to shake it back. So I want quite a bit on here, which is why I am kind of going for it here. But I do know, and I'm looking, I can see the dry bits here where the powder isn't reacting to anything, so I do need a bit more water. Now this is quite a powerful nozzle, so I'm going to take a mister spray this time, make sure I get it around the right way. And so now you can see I'm now activating all the bits that I didn't have before. And you can see this is very, very wet, so you can pour it, make it move. You can have more in. It depends on what effect you're going for. Now I want, for what I'm doing, I wanted a complete background card. So I would take my brush, in fact I'm probably just bear with me a moment, I'm just going to get a piece of tissue and just blot this slightly before I put a wet brush into it. Okay, so I'm just blotting it slightly here. See, I love in this particular one, I love these really dark, almost purpley bits that come out as you are as it's reacting with the water. So I'm just going to add a little bit more in bits where I don't feel I've got much colour. Now, I am quite extravagant with this. You don't have to be. It's just the way I want this background card to be. So I'm just going to put a little bit more water. And then with my brush, I'm just going to brush it over. Now, yes, I am losing some of that lovely little sort of reactions. But for this particular project, I don't need too much of that. Okay, see that lovely bit there. Now, as I said, I think with the early one, this is very wet now, and I would prefer it to leave to dry. So I'm going to leave it to dry. And I have one that I did before, so I need, bear with me, mop this up. It's very weird, this whole, like, how many of you are out there, and am I making any sense? Sometimes I don't think I make sense to myself really, but hey ho. Right, so that's our background done, and if I show you the one I made, you can see how much more intense. I've made it really quite dark, and I've covered the whole piece of card. Okay, so we'll put that to one side for later. Now, what I want to show you now is technique for making doing the stamping with this background. So I'm going to take my stamping platform. I've already got my piece of card in there, and I've got my Festive Fuzzies Santa from Woodware. This lovely stamp here. You can see I've used it already. And you can see I have already made a mask, and this is going to be quite crucial in the technique that we're doing. So I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to just position it, and then it doesn't matter too much if it's not straight. Oops. And then down, and then I'm using, because I'm going to be using some watercolour products on it, I am going to use Versaclair in order to get a lovely clear image that is not going to bleed when I start putting other things over the top, water-based things over the top. Okay, so let's see. I do not profess to be a stamper, so for me something like the stamp press is great. Now I there's nothing wrong with that image. I just want a little bit more definition around there. So it's probably me not pushing in the right places. But if you're not a confident stamper, then a stamping press is definitely the way to go. Over the years, I've wasted so many bits of card where you try to stamp, it doesn't stamp. There you go. That is so much better. I'm happy with that now. So we're going to take that out of the way. Okay, so here is my image, and I want to create this sort of mid-90s sky background. So what I've got is I've already made a mask. Now you can do this in several ways. There's lots of products on the market that are designed specifically for this, where you print them on. This is one of them. But you can do it equally with a piece of copy paper and some low-tack spray. Just all you need to do is to be able to cover up that image so that we can colour him in later. Now, what I did find when I was doing this is all these fuzzy little bits around the edge. I was thinking, oh no, what have I done? Have I made this really hard for myself? But actually, it doesn't matter if you are not completely cutting out on those lines. It doesn't. The fact that they are fuzzy almost helps in that it doesn't quite matter. So let me just try to line this up. Ugh, I need to get his boots. If I can get his boots in, I think we'll be halfway there. His boots and his boots and his mitts. There we go. Work from the bottom up. There we go. That's better. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to ground him. He's kind of floating in mid-air at the moment, so I need to kind of give him somewhere to stand. So what I've done is I've taken this just ordinary copy paper, and I drew myself kind of like a wavy line, and I'm going to decide where his feet should be. Now, when I look back at this one, I noticed that he's kind of on his tippy toes here. So what I want to do this time is to bring the floor up more to his heel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this up to cover up there and just fix it down with a little bit of low-tack tape. Okay, I'm going to put that there. Now it doesn't matter I've got the bits of tape here because I'm not going to use all of this. It's just this kind of area that I want to cover. Now I'm going to use chipped sapphire distress oxide. Distress oxides are really good for blending and for backgrounds. They are not as transparent as the ink, so they give you a better sort of finish. I'm also using just, bog standard kind of the makeup type brushes. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the oxide on. I'm going to start at the edge, even though I know I'm not needing it, just to take the edge off, and then I'm going to come in and gently around him, just to start building up the colour. Let's take a bit more on. Let's take a bit off on the edge and just start to build up around him. I don't want it to be completely solid. I'm kind of almost going for a snowy scene look. And we're going to add to that in a minute with some drops of water. But you get the idea that this is blending over. Now we couldn't, without a mask, we wouldn't have been able to do this because it would have just been much too fiddly to try and go around. This is basically protecting the image underneath, and also it's going to give me a nice little area at the bottom for him to be standing on. So just make a decision as to how far out you're going to go, as to how big your image is going to be. I think I might just put a little bit more up there in that corner, just in case. I think pretty much there. Whoops! Ooh, that was close. Lifting that off. Pretty much there. Okay. Now while that is still masked up, I'm going to get some water onto my fingers. I'm going to move that one out of the way because that's, otherwise I'll do that. And I'm literally going to do that whole drip, 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 drip. I'm not doing it particularly well on this one. And all I'm going to do then is to take a piece of tissue and blot, and now I'm getting my snow scene in the background. We could probably do with a little bit more over here. Oh, I'm not very good at aiming my flicks today. Oh, that's a bit big, but that'll do. There we go. We've got some nice little snowy bits over there. So now, when I remove that bit, we've now got a nice little bit, and it's firmly sat on the stood on the ground. And I remove here. There he is, all ready to be filled in. And I'll just return my mask to its little cover and put that out of the way. So I've now got my snowy background for my Santa. So the next thing I want to do is I want to paint him. Now, I really like the idea of using the red oxide Pixie Sparkles, but when I tried that, what I found is that because it is very water based, it is very, very transparent. So what I did then was I decided to go with aged mahogany distress oxide, which is a very, very similar colour, and paint that on first. So I don't have my white board with me today, so I'm just going to put it on my my mat and literally pick it up with a brush. I'm going to go for a fairly small brush, I think, to start with, and I'm literally going to paint with this. Now, because this is an oxide, it is nice and opaque. I think this kind of darker red is fairly, I quite like it on Santa. Sometimes I find that really orangey red too much. Okay, so this is where I'm just checking that I'm painting in the right bit. I'm merrily talking away here. I'm not really focusing too much. So I'm painting in this coat. Okay. And over here. And all that fuzzy white, all the sort of white bits that are going to be, you know, like his beard or the edging on his suit. We're going to do all that later with that lovely fluffy stuff. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is looking a bit flat. Yes, you're right, it is looking a bit flat. Because in a moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of the Pixie Sparkles into this and then paint over the top. But if I did it straight with the Pixie Twinkles, all that I get really, and I've just realised I've gone over, I'm going to just blot that. Too busy talking, Carole. We're going to cover that later with our fluffy stuff. Thankfully. So I'm just painting this bit in here. Now, where was I before I distracted myself completely? I honestly can't remember. I don't know. Oh yes, I was going to put, if I put this straight on, it wouldn't have such a deep colour. Okay, so by putting this on first, it's giving us a base, and then we're going to add the twinkly bit over the top. Now let's look. Have I got all the red bits? No, I haven't got his hat. Got to have a red hat, doesn't he? Let's just fill in his hat. There we go. Okay. Do I have them all now? No! Oh, look what I've done again! Here. I tell you, it's a good job you're not in the room with me, because it's bad enough that I'm talking just to the air, really. If you're in the room with me, I don't think I get anything done. So, we'll cover those up with the nice fluffy stuff later. So all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add in a little bit onto my mat of the Pixie Sparkles. And I'm going to mix it in. And then I'm going to go, hopefully over the right bits this time. Now, can you see the difference that is making? Yeah? If I'd have just put that straight on without having the aged mahogany underneath, we would not be getting that effect at all. We've got a much nicer red, and we will also get the sparkle in as well. So it kind of feels like, oh, I'm doing it twice, but actually it's worth it. For the effect that you'll get, it is definitely worth it. Okay. Keep going with this. So, I don't know if anyone is even out there. Are we getting any feedback?
No, about 30, 40 people watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. Hello to all of you.
Lots of people saying hello as well.
Oh, hello everybody. Yeah, it's lovely that you're out there. It feels quite weird. I don't know if I know any of you, but if I do, hi. If I don't, yeah, it's probably all my friends have gone, oh, but we better go and watch her. Yeah, so here we go. This is almost done with the red. It's definitely giving us a much better colour, having put that base on before we mixed in the red oxide pixie sparkles. Oh, nearly. I'm desperate to paint the wrong bits today. Okay, so we are going to paint the rest of him. We are going to use black soot. Woo! Some black soot for his boots. And again, right now I am not taking too much care. I'm not doing much shading. It's something that, you know, at home I would take a lot more time over. You would take a lot more time over and make sure it all is looking very, very brilliant.
Kay Rogers would like to know what colour the pixie sparkles are.
The pixie sparkles that I'm using, this one is the red oxide. I have to say, of the ones that I've been using, well, I'm going to say it was my favourite. Actually, it's my favourite for this kind of project. The other one I'm going to use later on this afternoon is equally brilliant. But yeah, they're just really, really rich colours, really lovely. Oh. Anyone else got a question while I'm busy just colouring in the wrong things? No?
Yeah, sometimes it will take like 30 seconds for people's questions to come through.
That's nice to know that somebody's out there. Really, it's not just me and you in this room.
Yeah.
Talking to nobody. Oh bless. I think the thought of doing this was worse than doing it, because now I'm doing it. I don't know who's out there. Hopefully they're enjoying it, but I'm enjoying it. Causing you a headache, I think. But
Maria would like to know what paper trimmer you were using earlier.
The one I'm using is it's the Crafter's Companion. It's the larger one. Yeah. So this bit will extend out, so you can cut beyond. This goes up to like 6 inches here, but you can extend it out for larger paper. I prefer it because I like having that length. I think with some of the smaller ones you can't get an A4 piece of paper in lengthways. On this one you can. Yeah. Okay, so we've done. What else do I need to do on him? Oh, now his belt. Now I'm going to be sneaky, and Barry's probably going to be not very happy with me. I'm going to snip in a bit of Cosmic Shimmer yellow, the ink, which he does have. It's Golden Sunrise, and I've used on not black. But I want a yellow belt, so I'm going to be naughty, and I'll probably get told off in a minute because I didn't tell him I was using it. So just a tiny little bit of the yellow for the buckle. There we go. Nice bright yellow for the buckle. I think to do his belt black. Do his belt black. Has anyone online used Pixie Sparkles before? Or the Pixie Highlights? What do they think of them? Because to be honest with you, I've not used them before, not the Pixie Sparkles, and I really love the effects that you can get with them. Now for his face, we need a kind of a flesh colour. So I'm kind of just going to wing it a little bit with what I've got. So we're going to take, I'm going to get a clean brush because that one is really contaminated with my black soot now. I'm going to take a clean brush and a bit of the aged mahogany with a little bit of the yellow. It's going to need to be really watered down. I'm going to need a bit more aged mahogany in there. When you do flesh colours, flesh colour really is done with a yellow red and a little bit of white. So as you can see, I've kind of got one. I just need it to be a lot weaker.
Donna would like to know if with the colours on the Santa,
yep,
do you think she'll be able to get a similar effect of with using water brush pens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, use whatever your favourite colouring medium is. You could do. Does she mean the background or colouring in?
The Santa himself.
Or the Santa himself. Yeah, you can use whatever. If you're going to use watercolours, you need like a VersaFine waterproof ink. But if you're going to use solvent-based, like alcohol pens, then you'll need to use a different kind of ink, like a Memento or something like that. Yeah.
Would pixie powders get the same effect?
Yeah. Well, what I've done here, if you mix the pixie powders, what you'll get is a much more translucent sort of effect. The reason I used the Distress Oxide first before I put the pixie powder on the top was to get that base, to allow the pixie powder to really kind of come through. Right, so I'm hoping I've got a little bit of a fairly good bit. I think Santa might look like he's got a bit of a suntan, but we'll go with it, I think. There we go. We'll give him a bit of a redder nose. Now, there we go. Oh, he's got a very red nose. He's been on the Christmas booze early, I think. With his little red nose there. Okay, right. So the painting pretty much is done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the fluffy stuff. This Cosmic Shimmer fluffy stuff. So we are going to. So I just realised he doesn't have a mouse. So I'm going to give him a mouse. We're going to add this onto all the white bits and those bits that I painted when I shouldn't. And hopefully they'll be covered up. So this stuff, I'm going to do it over here on this bit of colour. I'll do it on top of this so you can see. It's kind of bit thicker than a PVA glue. It's easy to push around with the nozzle, which is quite good because you can make sort of ridges with it. So all I'm going to do is I'm literally going to start to fill in. And again, this is why I wasn't too worried about the fuzzy edges, because I'm kind of fuzzying them out now with this anyway. So there we go. There's the top of that. We'll go with that bit that I shouldn't have painted. And we're going to do his beard. Oh, let me do his moustache first, otherwise his moustache is going to go into his beard. Okay, and do his beard. So come on here. Now, if you swirl around, you're going to get sort of lines, and that will give you a lot more texture when this stuff puffs up. Can you see? I'm giving it a bit of a swirl, a bit of a texture here, and then there's. And I'm going to go over here. And at the moment, it just looks like I'm just putting some really wet white stuff on there. If you've never used fuzzy stuff before, the magic happens when it gets heated up. And I'm also going to give him some snow to stand on. So we're just going to come on here. Again, I'm giving it kind of a bit of a backwards and forwards to give it a little bit of a texture. Just following that line that I created with the ink and the mask. And again, come out as far as you think you need to in terms of where you're going to cut for your image. Okay, so now I'm going to get my heat gun. Oh, right, this is why I'm a really messy crafter, and I do apologise. I really should have cleaned myself up before I started, because look, this is going on the back. Right, here we go. Let's move this all out of the way, and I'm going to get the heat gun on. And what you'll see is that this will start to puff up. I'll try and do it from the side so that you can still see it from the overhead. Once it starts heating up, you start to get a little puffy. There we go, you can see it more on his beard. Can you see the little bubbles coming on his beard? I must be where I've directed it to. Let's go that way.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah,
yeah. There we go. Can you see all the little puffy bits coming up now? There we go.
Somebody would like to know what the fluff is called.
It's called Cosmic Shimmer Fluffy Stuff. Literally, it's called Fluffy Stuff. So it literally is just popping up, making all these lovely little textures. And you just keep the heat gun there until you can see that it's all fluffed. It's because I put quite a lot on here, so it's just taking me a while to work through it all. But I think it's worth it. I think, you know, Santa deserves to have a really fluffy beard and a really fluffy coat. There we go. Oh, I've got rather a big bubble there. There you go, see the bottom starting to bubble up too. This stuff is great for Christmas, but also, you know, anything like where you're trying to get a fluffy effect. So in spring, when you've got, you know, your lambs and things on your Easter cards, perfect for that. And it is so easy to use. This is really all there is to it.
Could somebody use a hairdryer to activate the fluff?
I don't think it would be hot enough.
Okay.
It may just take a lot longer. It's not like, I suppose, we always say no with embossing powder because I think I'm done. I'm not going to turn this off until I'm sure, because my heat gun has this tendency, as soon as I stop it, it won't work again. So I'm just going to make sure everything's puffed up before I turn it off. Okay, now with embossing powder, when you put embossing powder on, it's loose. And if you use a hairdryer on it then, the air from the hairdryer is much wider and it just blows everything away. A heat gun is much more focused. I would say you could possibly use a hairdryer, but it would probably take a lot longer because those things really do heat up. Okay, so yeah, it's worth a try. It's worth a try. Okay, so I am going to put that to one side because it is still a little bit... It's done, but what I don't want to do is to knock it off before it's completely set. So I'm just going to put that to one side. And we're going to sort the rest of the card. We are. Ah, it's down here. I know I had it somewhere. So I have chosen to use a 7x7 card. This is one I've made, but you can use a standard card blank. And I am going to cut a piece for my background. Now, I am probably going to... Bear with me, I think I will cut this first, but I'm not going to cut it with a guillotine, I'm going to cut it on the mat with a knife. So I'm going to grab a metal-edged ruler and a craft knife, and I am going to decide where I'm going to do this. I think there. This is just to give me, see what I've done? This is why I didn't want to put it through the guillotine. You do need to give it time to set. And obviously, because I'm doing this live, I've not got quite time for it to set. It will set, believe me. That's why I didn't want to put it through my guillotine. It's not going to go now, is it? There we go. I've not cut this. Oh, I'm not doing this very well. Let's try again. There we go. Put a bit of welly into it. There we go. There we go. No, I am going to admit defeat and I'm going to try and put it through the guillotine, but very carefully. So, I am going to remove the guard. No, I can't. Oh, panic mode has set in. I'm just going to stop and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to put it to one side and come back to it in a sec. So, let's cut this bit down. I'm going to cut off an edge there, so I don't have a sort of wonky one, and I'm going to cut off the edge there, and I'm going to eye it up as to how much I want on this card. So I'm going to turn it over, you see my lovely mess, and I'm going to say I need roughly that. I am always one for eyeballing things. If you are a measurer, then by all means measure. Does not look straight to me. No, I didn't think it was. There we go. Okay, so I have my background. I want a piece of white that is going to fit onto that. Let's grab a piece of white stamping card.
Kay Rogers says, not to worry, you're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you, Kay. I'm enjoying it, but I am, as soon as something goes wrong, I'm panicking a little bit because it's like, oh no, what do I do? Well, I do know what to do. It's just different when people are watching. So I'm going to cut down. Again, eyeballing it. I don't know why I do it this way. I've always done it this way. It's always worked for me.
Wendy missed a start and would like to know what you used for the background.
For which part of the background? Let me get the card. This part of the background is using the red oxide pixie sparkles on the background. Was that it? Yeah. I think so, yeah. This one here was chip sapphire distress oxide to create the blue. Okay. So I'll put that and put that. Okay. So we're going to leave my contentious little Santa, who doesn't want to play very well at the moment, to the end, and I'm going to do my I managed to get a mess all over this one. I'm going to do my sentiment. So let me grab the stamp sheet, and the sentiment that comes with this one is ho ho ho, and I am going to stamp it using my very dirty acrylic block. With little ones, I never see the point of getting the stamping platform out. It's just easier to do it this way. So I'm going to stamp my ho ho ho. They're beautifully clear with that ink. It stamps really, really well. Okay, now I am just going to go and cut it with a pair of scissors. I tried this earlier, got myself stressed about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. If it's wonky, it's going to be a wonky Santa. Don't stress it. Let's make it deliberately wonky. There we go, ho ho ho. And I want a piece of, am I going to be able to grab a piece of that? Yes. Okay, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to make the decision, and I'm going to cut this. As I said, at home, you will leave it to dry. You will have time to leave it to dry. You won't have to cut into it as quickly as I am. There we go. That's that bit out. I'm going to cut up there. And then across the top. Okay, that will do. See, now I'm like, oh, I cut it too small. So I am going to go back in and recut that because I am not liking how big that is. So we'll go there, and we'll go there. I'll cut that down. But I am going to leave the pixie background big because it's nice and sparkly. And it will cover the back there. There. And there. So, that and that. It's going to go on there. And, oh, did I not leave his mouth open? Oh, I did just slightly there. Oh, poor old Santa won't be able to ho ho ho. We're going to take a little bit of this one. Mutton layer, and then we're going to put a little. I am sorry, I am a messy crafter. I'm one of those ones that at home, by the time I've finished, I'll be working in there. You should see the floor.
Somebody did comment that saying a tidy crafter doesn't exist, so you're okay.
Oh, phew! Thank goodness. Yeah, it's just, I'm just very aware, at home, wouldn't bother me at all, just very aware that you lot are looking at my mess here. So I'm just going to do all this by scissors. Normally I would do it on the thing, but I think it's just going to be quicker and easier for me to do it like this. There we go. So let's assemble this little Santa who's caused me a little bit of stress this afternoon. Any more questions, or is everyone just...
Everybody's just enjoying the ride so far.
Oh, good. Okay. Hopefully just not falling asleep, that would. Right, there's our background. There's our mount. And I do apologise, this isn't cut particularly straight. For those of you, I know some people are quite... do you know, I might actually go deliberately off centre, and then my little mistakes in cutting will not show so much if we off centre him a little bit. What do you reckon? Put him like that, and then we'll put our little ho 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 at the top. Again, not the straightest, but we did it. Oh, I'm not liking that sentiment at all, but I'm just going to breathe and go, we're done. Yay. Oh, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope I've shown you a few little bits and pieces.
We've done two, haven't we?
Sorry?
Have we done two?
We've done two.
Oh, I think, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up.
You walked off, you left me. You left me halfway through the first one.
Sorry.
So I've done two. We've done this one, and we did our butterfly one, didn't we? This one. We did our butterfly edge one. So yes, we've done our two.
Just so everybody knows, we will be doing another one at 3:30. We will leave this video live, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll answer them the best we can.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much for watching, and hopefully see you a bit later. Bye.